Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. Yesterday, we bought ingredients for a freezer meal marathon, and today we're going to let the marathon begin. Here's what we're making. Italian stuffed peppers, sausage and egg tater tot casserole, chicken enchiladas, chicken fajitas freezer dinner, and we're also going to do several marinades that will work for either chicken or pork. I'm going to use both. And our first recipe is the Italian stuffed peppers. The peppers are stuffed with sweet Italian sausage and rice. Now, I already cooked my rice earlier today, and I browned the sweet Italian sausage. So now I want to add onion and baby spinach leaves to the sausage mixture. I will also need onion for a couple of our other recipes, so I'm going to go ahead and dice up 2 onions and then slice up a 3rd onion. We can put all of the diced onion in a bowl. For the fajitas, I will need some half moon onion, or really just strips of onion. And we can put the half moons in another bowl. And I won't pretend that doing a big freezer dinner marathon is a day at the beach, but once you've accomplished it, you actually can spend a day at the beach because dinner is at home just waiting for you. I'm going to add the equivalent of 1 of the diced onions to the sausage. I'm also going to add the baby spinach leaves. I can tell you right now that these Italian stuffed peppers turned out beautifully after I froze and then baked them. The filling alone is beyond delicious. I will link the printable recipe in the description box below. And here come the baby spinach leaves. It looks like a lot of leaves, but they will wilt down. Then I want to cover the skillet, lower the heat, and let this cook just until the onions have softened and the spinach has wilted. Because I have it, I'm also going to add some garlic puree. That's about the equivalent of 3 cloves of minced garlic. Now we can go back to letting these ingredients steam. And while the onions and spinach are doing their thing, we can go ahead and make a bechamel sauce. And for the bechamel, I need butter. And I'm just melting the butter over medium heat. And we can add flour. So what we're doing is making a roux. So it's equal parts butter and flour. And this will create the bechamel, which is simply a white sauce. And I want to stir the flour and butter together just to cook out the raw flour taste. And you want to keep the heat low enough so that the butter doesn't brown. And now we can add milk. And I'm going to stir this until the milk comes to a boil and the bechamel becomes fairly thick. All right, the bechamel is starting to thicken. So now we can add a pinch of salt and some black pepper. I also want to add some dried Italian herbs, which of course includes basil. The bechamel is coming to a boil and it has really thickened up appreciably. So we can take it off the heat. Now I know my skillet, as large as it is still too small to accommodate all of the ingredients we need here. So I'm transferring everything to a big stainless bowl. I may have made too much rice for this mixture, so I'm going to go ahead and measure it out. Actually, I only have slightly more rice than I need, so I'm going to go ahead and use it all, because I don't know what else I would do with that little bit of rice. And in case I forgot to mention it, I am doubling the recipe that I'm following, and I will link the recipe in the description box below. And to see the full description, you simply click on the title of the video. I'm also going to stir in more of the Italian herbs because I love them so much. This is one of those recipes that you can customize to your own liking. I also want to add a generous handful of shredded mozzarella cheese and a small handful of Parmesan cheese. It smells glorious. The herbs and the Parmesan and the very fragrant sweet Italian sausage and the onion and the spinach. It's a symphony of flavor. And I'm going to let this cool for a moment while we chop up the peppers. And before we cut up the peppers, I need to prepare my baking dishes. I'm using two 9x13 dishes. And I want to add just enough marinara sauce or even just strained tomatoes like I'm using to coat the bottom of the baking dish so that the peppers won't stick. And we can put these aside to make room for the peppers. And I'm using a combination of yellow and red peppers. There are no rules for stuffed peppers. Cut out the core. And then I cut each pepper in half lengthwise. This pepper doesn't look so good. I'm going to compost it and start over. This one looks great. Cut it in half lengthwise. And we can start adding the peppers right to the baking dish. Let's see if I have better luck with this yellow pepper. All of my pepper halves are arranged in their baking dishes, so now we can fill the peppers. I actually have enough filling left for a third dish of stuffed bell peppers, but I don't have the peppers, so I'm going to put this in a bag and freeze it. Now I'm pouring the bechamel on top of the filled peppers. The bechamel really transforms this basic dish into a luxurious main course. And I'm going to finish off these peppers with more mozzarella and more Parmesan. I'm going to let my peppers cool to room temperature, and then I will cover them and freeze them. And to reheat, you want to take them out of the freezer a good 24 hours ahead of time and let them thaw, and then bake them at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes or until the cheese melts and the peppers have softened and the filling is hot throughout. And while I set these aside, I'm going to clean up, and then we can get started on the next recipe. I'm very proud of myself because I just washed all of the dishes from the previous recipe entirely by hand. That was an exercise in character building. So this next recipe is a sausage and egg tater tot casserole. And I found the recipe online, and of course I will link it in the description box below. So I need 1 green bell pepper. The sausage and egg tater tot casserole turned out just beautifully. Everyone loved it. Then I need to brown 1 pound of sweet Italian sausage, or you could use ground turkey or ground chicken or ground beef. To give the sausage a head start, I'm first heating a little avocado oil in the skillet. Once the sausage has browned on the underside for 1 minute, I break it up with a meat chopping tool. While the meat is cooking, I want to make a custard. So I need eggs, now I'm adding milk to the eggs, plus smoked paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, and black pepper. Now, I'm deviating from the written recipe a little because this dish is intended to go from the stovetop to the oven. Since I'm going to freeze it, I'm transferring the sausage to a casserole, or rather a gratin pan here. And then in the same pan, we're going to quickly saute the bell pepper. And I will only saute this pepper until it's tender crisp. Now we can add the peppers to the sausage. Give everything a quick mix. This custard does smell wonderful for the garlic and onion powder and the smoked paprika. And here comes the star of the show, tater tots. I'm going to use enough tater tots to cover the whole surface of this dish. And we finish the dish with shredded sharp cheddar cheese. As I said earlier, this dish is intended to be baked in a cast iron skillet that can go directly from the stovetop to the oven. But I'm freezing the dish, so I'm going to let everything cool to room temperature. Then I will cover it and pop it in the freezer. And to serve this dish, I will let it thaw in the refrigerator overnight. and then bake it off in a 375-degree oven until it puffs and the eggs are completely done and the top has browned lightly. And that will take anywhere from 35 to 55 minutes. And once again, it is cleanup time. Hola, amigos. The next recipe is chicken enchiladas, and the recipe is from Rick Martinez from the New York Times. And I've already prepped most of my ingredients, but I still need to juice and seed some tomatoes here. These are San Marzanos from last summer's garden. I figured I might as well use them. The tomatoes in this summer's garden are far from ripe. In fact, they are just starting to form. And once again, I will link this recipe in the description below. And now we need to warm 12 corn tortillas in a skillet. I'm using my electric skillet here. The electric skillet affords more surface area than any of my stovetop skillets do. And Rick said to brush each side with oil. I'm going to use avocado oil and just spray each one. And the reason we need to warm the tortillas is so that they won't crack when we go to roll them around the filling. And once I've finished the dozen, I'm going to keep them warm in a towel. I use these kitchen tweezers almost every day. I can link them in the description below if you are interested. This first batch is done. Now we can add some avocado or olive oil to the skillet. Add the equivalent of half of an onion. This is the onion that you and I diced up earlier today. 1 diced green pepper, or you could use a poblano pepper. The equivalent of 3 fresh garlic cloves. I'm using, or the equivalent in garlic paste, I meant to say. I have all of that garlic that you and I harvested from the garden the other day, but I'm letting it cure before we can process it. These San Marzanos. I'm going to saute these until everything has softened. So my veggies have softened. Almost all of the liquid has evaporated. So now we can add some shredded or chopped, already cooked chicken. I'm using chicken breasts from a rotisserie chicken. I also need to add a ½ cup of this enchilada sauce. This is just store-bought enchilada sauce. And a little more salt. And I want to have a little taste of this just to make sure it doesn't need any additional salt. It's good. Now I need to put a ½ cup of the enchilada sauce in my 9x13 baking dish. And I want to spread it out to coat the bottom. And we can add a scant ½ cup of the filling to each tortilla. Roll it up and place it in the baking dish. And you want to place the tortillas seam side down. The good news is that none of these tortillas are cracking. And that's because we heated them in the skillet. I've tried using those tortilla warming devices. In fact, a viewer sent me a very beautiful tortilla warmer, and it worked great with flour tortillas, but it didn't work terribly well with corn tortillas. So I think the best way, for me anyway, is to heat the corn tortillas on a hot surface, a skillet or a griddle. And we have to top these tortillas with more of the enchilada sauce. And with lots and lots of sharp cheddar cheese. This looks wonderful already. Now you could bake this right away, or you can freeze it, as I'm going to do. And when you wish to serve this after freezing it, you let it thaw in the refrigerator, at least overnight, and then it goes into a 400-degree Fahrenheit oven until it becomes bubbly and hot throughout. And that will take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to let mine cool to room temperature right now. Then I will cover it and freeze it. I just ran to the store to buy another bell pepper because we are getting ready to do our marinades. And the first one is chicken fajita freezer dinner. So I need to cut my bell peppers into thin strips. I've already cut up the green one. This is a great way to prepare chicken fajitas because you cook everything right in the oven. I can move this aside because I need to slice some chicken cutlets into thin strips. This is the chicken that you and I bought together at the berry farm. And the chicken is partially frozen, which means it will be fairly easy to cut. And I'm using this cutting board, which I really have reserved for cutting up raw meat. And to clean it, well, I wash it with soap and water, and then I pour a weak bleach solution over it, and I let it air dry, just to kill any bacteria. I like to mix up the marinade right in a Ziploc bag, and I'm putting the Ziploc bag in a vase. And I have my sliced onion here that we did earlier today. In goes the chicken. And then I need to wash my hands and my board. Then I need my veggies. And I'm going to divide these veggies among 2 containers of chicken fajitas. Onion. I need oil. I'm using avocado oil. You could use olive oil. A marinade is simply oil and an acid of some sort. The acid could be lemon juice or lime juice or apple cider vinegar or white vinegar. I'm using pure lime juice. And to give this some kick, I'm going to add my own homemade taco seasoning. Quite a bit of it. And we can mix this up right in the bag. So you want to use enough oil and whatever your acid is to coat the ingredients. And if you want a sauce to accompany your chicken fajitas, I mean, if you want a lot of sauce, say to spoon over rice, then you would simply make more marinade. And this looks perfect right here. And the only boo-boo I made was I forgot to label this bag. So let me do that right now. It's much easier to label before you've added the ingredients. To cook these frozen chicken fajitas, you would first let them thaw overnight and then put them in a smallish baking dish and bake them off at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 to 25 minutes. And now we are doing our second batch of chicken fajitas. You could serve these fajitas, as I said, on a bed of rice, or traditionally they are served with tortillas. But however you serve them, they are delicious. And I need my oil, my acid lime juice, and the taco seasoning. And this time I remembered to label my bag. You really just massage all of the ingredients together. Of course, chicken fajitas won't marinate while they are frozen, but they will marinate beautifully while they are thawing in the refrigerator. We can put you over here. Wash up time again. I have just returned from the garden because our next freezer dinner is a balsamic and rosemary pork tenderloin. Label my bag. Now, after this freezes and thaws, you would cook it at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 to 20 minutes, or until the internal temperature achieves 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you let it rest for 5 or 10 minutes before slicing it. So I need my rosemary needles. I'm going to roughly chop them. Oh, they smell so wonderful. In the comments, let me know if you adore the scent of fresh rosemary. And I need my tenderloin. This is already trimmed. In you go. Hand wash time. And then I need balsamic vinegar, oil, salt, the chopped rosemary, garlic powder, and Dijon mustard. Lift and mix. I think you'll find that these freezer marinades are really convenient to have on hand, because again, all you need to do is let them thaw overnight, put them in a baking dish, and bake them off. The hardest part is remembering to take them out of the freezer to let them thaw in the refrigerator. But these are the kinds of freezer meals that mitigate the need to go to a fast food restaurant or a diner or some other restaurant on a weeknight. I have nothing against restaurants, but they're very expensive. I know that during the pandemic, when restaurants were closed, we saved a lot of moolah. That's how often we were eating out. And this is good to go. Now, since I have my mustard out, we might as well do some honey mustard chicken. This chicken is completely frozen, but that's perfectly fine. It will thaw during the marinating process. Only problem, it won't fit. I have to rethink this game plan. Clean hands once again. I will make the marinade first, then we can add the chicken. Mustard. You could use chicken thighs instead of the chicken cutlets that I'm using. Honey. Herbes de Provence. Oh, I love this. It has lavender in it. And we need oil. Of course, we need some salt. And mix right in the bag. I want to add more oil to this. I don't want to be too skimpy with ingredients. Now, for any of the chicken marinades, you would do the usual thing, freeze, thaw completely, and with chicken, preheat the oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for 25 minutes. Well, let's have a look at everything we made today. Well, let's see if I can remember the names of everything we made today. So we have 2 9x13 baking dishes of Italian stuffed peppers. Now, each of these is enough for 6 servings, so we have 12 servings total. Plus we have the sausage and egg tater tot casserole. This will be minimum 4 servings. We have the beautiful, beautiful chicken enchiladas, which I would say is from 4 to 6 servings. And we have our marinades, honey mustard chicken, balsamic and rosemary pork tenderloin, chicken fajitas, 2 bags of the chicken fajitas. So for my spouse and I, this is probably several weeks worth of freezer dinners because, of course, we won't eat a freezer dinner every single night. And again, super convenient to have these dishes in your freezer. I hope you feel inspired to make some of your own freezer dinners. Again, they are super handy to have on hand. And if you would like to see how I incorporate freezer dinners into my own schedule, just keep watching this channel. When I have a day spent doing domestic chores, or maybe I'm out in the garden for most of the day, I usually have a freezer dinner that night. And I will show you what these look like as I bake them off in future episodes. And until then, please treat yourself very, very well. And I can't wait to see you next time. Bye for now, friends.